think it's better. Hi, Alba.
Hey, Manel.
I feel very honored in this moment to be talking with you, because to me, in my personal experience, it's been always very clear that becoming a healer, it's a path of that we are guided to, or by I'm going to say forces of nature, or spiritual forces, and so all the healers that I got the chance to meet in my path as well, after myself becoming a healer, I always have this sense of honor, of understanding that your life brought you here in a way that you had probably to choose between maybe being more in a comfortable life than in a life of service. Maybe it's so as you like, well, I'm going to ask you your name so you can present yourself. You are in our webpage in Universal Healing, but yeah, can you present yourself just a little bit, your name and where you live and all that? Yeah.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Manel, for the opportunity. I also do want to say it's a tremendous honor to be a part of this group. It's fascinating. It's fascinating work. And my name is ALBA GOSALBEZ, and I do live in Barcelona. I was raised in Miami, but my family's from here, from Spain, from Barcelona. So I've always come here in the summers. It's always been a place that I consider second home. I'm a mother to two young, God, they act like teenagers, but they're 6 and 7. And I call them my Brennan babies because I had them during my first and second year at Brennan. I started that particular healing journey at the same time as my motherhood journey, and it shaped me in such a way that was really incredible. And it led me to write my final thesis on, energy healing and the postpartum journey, because it helped me so much during my difficult postpartum. But my healing journey, I would say honestly, began when I was 17. And it started with an overdose, actually. And so the thing is that, growing up in Miami, it's a huge party town, and it's very easy for kids to access like all kinds of things, right? And so I had actually learned to lead a double life up until that point. I'd always been a very rebellious kid, always lied when I was very young, because I didn't want I didn't want anyone to control me. I couldn't take no for an answer. I always found my own way, even if it meant causing a disruption in my family. I felt very disrespected by my family too. I didn't feel validated. I didn't feel seen. So in my mind, it was justified. Well, if they don't see me, they don't respect me. Why am I going to listen and respect them? Right? When I don't feel that what they're, saying is valid. Right? So after graduating from high school, after leading, a double life and, doing theater for a number of years too. So I was really good at acting, and again, leading this double life, things just got out of hand. It was my best friend's 18th birthday, but the chaperone was actually the one that I ended up doing drugs with. And, he ended up trying to, take advantage, basically. And he shamed me in the process too. And so it was very traumatic. It was very intense, but it was also actually my very first energy healing experience too, because as I'm overdosing, I'm learning how to manage my breath, my mind, my thoughts, trying to calm myself down. But, fast forward an hour later, my family comes home from being out at brunch. They knew I'd been out, so they assumed I was just really hungover, right? But my grandmother sat next to me on the couch, on the other side of the couch, and she said she was just sending me white light. She was like, I don't know what was going on, but you had this horrible look on your face. You had these horrible, like, dark circles under your eyes. And she said she was just sending me white light, white light, white light. Right?
Is your grandma?
My grandmother. And she is. We actually do have a line of energy healers from her side of the family. And I come to find that I have great aunts that were the energy healers of the town, where people would go and they would get their bones repaired. These women would charge water, and eye infections would be healed from literally just, you know, their hands. And as a kid, I always felt like I could move energy with my hands. You know, I would like see a tree trunk and how it was scraped, and I could feel the pain, you know, like it was very visceral. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I would love to do this. But, you know, you're always told that it's magic, it's not real, you know, all this kind of stuff. But, you know, within me, I felt like it was different, right? I felt like it was real, but I didn't have any evidence, right? But then, you know, as you're a teenager, you get lost, you want to be cool, you want to do this, you get lost in like the ego, the image, the acceptance, you know, the illusion of, you know, of power, basically, right? And at that age, you're being told, oh, well, you need to go to school and, you know, get a good job and your career and all this kind of stuff. And although school was difficult for me, but the idea of having a good image in society was appealing. But then after the overdose, like it was just completely that just.
So what happened? What happens in that moment when your grandma was sending you white light? How were you feeling in that moment?
It helped. I was at that point, I was literally curled up into a ball on the couch. I was just focusing, watching a movie and doing my breath work and calming down, because my heart was like out of my chest. My forehead was going numb. My arm was turning purple and it was going numb too. Later, I spoke to my uncle about this, who's a doctor, and he told me that I was like this close to having a stroke, that all the symptoms that I was presenting and, you know, what he had seen and, you know, his day-to-day was that of the stroke. I was very close to having a stroke.
Yeah.
And so I did, you know, stay on that couch for a bit, and I just ended up feeling more calm, more back in my body, less intensity, right? But it was several hours. I can't say exactly how many, you know, I don't even remember exactly what happened after the movie. If another one just played, I just remember like being so preoccupied with my internal state and controlling my internal state, because otherwise it was just going crazy. I really did think I was dying, right? And but my grandmother was also just very stoic, very, you know, what I would say in Hara, right? But also at the same time sending her, you know, her energy, her good intentions, right? And so after that is when I just spilled everything to my parents, and I told them everything, that I had been, you know, lying for like about 2 years now, really just doing a lot of, you know, drugs behind their back, especially, you know, again, for image reasons, really, you know, because again, at that time in the early 20s, girls wanted to look really skinny, right? Like that was the fad, like the Kate Moss, like the Nicole Richies, the Paris Hiltons of that time, right? And so, you know, it really warps your mind. It warps it really bad. So I came clean with everything. And right after that, a friend of theirs gifted me a book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. You know, Dr. Brian Weiss, exactly. Yeah, chief of psychiatry in Miami in the 80s. And he starts regressing patients, and they start regressing to past lives, right? And that starts healing their traumas. And I just found it fascinating. I just ate that book up. It really made me question, like, what is reality? Who are we? What are we? Why are we here? What does it mean to like actually have past lives, you know, and have it documented this way? Because I'd had, again, also inklings of this. Like I remember being 14, going to Machu Picchu and like questioning and feeling like past lives, what? Right? This kind of thing. But then to have a book that's really stating this as like, this is what happened, and it actually healed people. And it took him a long time. It took him like 8 years to actually write the book, because he felt his career was on the line. It just, you know, really propelled me again into self-help, really wanting to get grounded back in my body. And, you know, again, really.
So you got a deeper sense of who you are, not just Alba,
Yeah.
that's a girl trying to make a life here, or also you got the connection with all the past lives, or the possibility that you have all these past lives, and that you are a spirit here, isn't it?
Mhm. Exactly. I had an awareness that my consciousness is ongoing, that it never ends, and that, you know, these past lives do influence very much what's going on in your present day life right now. And so I started learning about karma, and I was like, oh my God, I need to clean my karma. I have done a lot that, you know, again, it makes you really begin to think like, wow, I really am an active participant in this, you know, universe, and what does that even mean, right? So again, I was 17. It was still to be seen if I was going to go to college or not, but again, that first year really helped me, you know, get out of my shell, right? I started, you know, really socializing and meeting people. I ended up going to Suffolk University for a year. That's in Boston, right? After having spent the summer, like, actually, I ended up being treated for an eating disorder over the summer. They almost put me in the hospital. They said that my weight was so low that they almost, the words are out in Spanish. Casi me ingresaron, like they almost just checked me into the hospital. And so that was twice a week therapy, once a week going to get my vitals checked, getting weighed, getting all kinds of, you know, reinforcement. Okay, let's help you out. What's going on? Again, a lot of like really being honest and you know, sitting with what's going on. Why am I doing these things? You know, because in the back of my mind, there was an understanding of, yes, I'm doing all of these drugs because, you know, I need to be thin, and I need to be thin because if not, then there's no value or worth in me, right? And so that was really what I was thinking, right? That was what had been drilled into me. If I'm not thin, I'm nothing, right? It's
Yes, such a strong limiting belief, isn't it? That you have to be in a certain way to be valued. Yeah.
Exactly. And especially I wanted to be an actress too. Like that was the profession that I wanted to go into. And so the first year I did theater. I was double majoring in psychology because again, like this past life regression thing just really caught my eye, and I thought it was just fascinating. And I was like, oh, well, you know, psychology goes really great with acting, you know, but again, like I really focused on acting in school, but not in my real life, you know, and just really understanding who I am and, you know, what's authentic to me, right? And at the end of that year, I actually ended up getting into a little bit of trouble because I ended up going back to, I mean, I don't want to call it a drug, but some people do, but I started smoking weed again. And so that, again, that fogged me up. It derailed me. You know, I ended up needing to come back to Miami and finishing my education there. But that was honestly a really great thing because I ended up getting caught. I had it's so funny. I had my blood tested. I had my urine tested. Like I had everything tested. And, you know, my parents asked me, they're like, you have a choice. You can be honest right now. We're going to know the results. All right. But you have to tell us whether it's going to be a yes, you're staying here, or a no, you're going back to school. Right. What is it? And so I decided to be honest in that moment. I said, yes, you know what? I did. I'm staying here. I'm sorry. You know, it's, I can't even say it just happened. I felt very, again, comfortable within myself. I couldn't manage it. You know, all right, fine. So I ended up staying. Lo and behold, like years later, I find out that the test came back all negative. Completely negative. There was no trace of anything in my bloodstream or in my urine, nothing. And I was just like, you know what? But it really paid to be honest. I would never change that.
Yeah, I would say that I like to introduce here that actually the path of here is actually a path to the truth, to the truth of who we are. And in this path, we have to let go of all the things, of all the limiting beliefs, everything that we have thought, and to really get into that space that it's quite exciting, but also very vulnerable space. What I have to do energy healing? I don't know. Tell me about that if you like to, because for me it was a little bit like that, with having to find that space of, okay, no, you have been kind of away from the real truth of who you are, maybe touching it here and there, coming back, like you were mentioning. Okay, I had to come back and say, okay, yes. And then at some point it really takes you into that space that you can just accept the truth in you, the truth of who you are. So yeah.
It is extremely vulnerable. It is extremely touchy, and it's extremely uncomfortable. It's extremely uncomfortable. But honestly, that is 100% where the growth comes from. And at about that time, I was about like 19, staying back in Miami. I went into Brennan at 25. So I still had, some like good 6 years there. That's where I started like doing yoga and meditation and, understanding again who I was. But there was a very, very deep wound of not being good enough, not seeing myself. I remember, in the very first years of yoga, the first year of yoga, I remember my teacher asking me, we were in India at the ashram, and, this is all through the Art of Living. Sri Ravi Shankar, he founded a global foundation called the Art of Living, and he really helps a lot of people get in touch with themselves using yogic principles, but in a very practical manner. And so the question was, what are your core values, and what are your core characteristics, right? And I swear to God that I kept naming physical attributes at that point, right? Well, this and that, because in my family, I had always been praised for my physical appearance. And not necessarily like, yes, I did a lot of, artistic things and everything, but it was more about like the work that you've done as far as homework, which was always not great. I always got good grades, but I always did everything last minute. I was not a good student in that regard. And so that was the struggle there with my parental dynamic. And in fact, there was a time where like my dad wouldn't even talk to me if I hadn't done my homework. There was a huge rift there. And then the other side was, again, physical appearance, very, had to be dressed in a certain way, and, all these sorts of things, very controlling, very rigid. So I didn't feel good enough in anything that I did, ever. And it had been drilled into my subconscious so much that even after, a few years of doing introspection, of, being in meditation, of doing these things, this is what was still coming up for me in that moment, right? And so at this point, I started sitting with the medicine, with particularly the peyote medicine. I had sat with ayahuasca, I've sat in mushroom ceremonies, I've sat with kambo, but the one medicine that I've really had a very deep connection with is peyote, and it's a medicine of the heart. It's a very grounding medicine. It's a medicine of discernment. It really helps, see things clearly. And also in the process, there is so much of your shadow and your subconscious and things that are really, really coming up. And honestly, I don't know what I would be like if it weren't for Brennan. What the Brennan program has done for me and helped me realize so many things about myself. The training that we go through is so intense that honestly, like, I've realized so much. You can be a yogi, you can be meditating, you could be sitting with plant medicines, but you can have so much in shadow still, because you're not being forced to sit in the vulnerable spaces. At Brennan, they're like, oh no, you better sit with it. And if you don't sit with it, I'm going to give you a pink slip, which is not a good thing at school.
The training in the Barbara Brennan School of Healing it's very good in that way, on bringing you to, okay, you can pretend whatever you like, but let's go back to the truth that is here in you.
Exactly, the truth that is there in you, even if it is, again, a lot of defenses that are coming up, but that's okay too. There's so much gold, there's so much virtue behind the defenses that, you're in such a safe space to be able to bring that up and out, right? And it was really wonderful. It wasn't until I graduated from the university. It took me 7 years to finish my degree in psychology because I was coming in out like I was not convinced with the institution, and I was very frustrated with institutionalized education. I still think that it's not in alignment with my personal truth, right? But what I do love about Brennan is it seems and feels like, you know, it's an institution, but it's really not too. It really does help you to come to the center, to the core, and that's what's most important is you coming up and out and shining your essence and sharing your medicine with the world. So
were you doing healings before starting at the Brennan School of Healing, or
was I doing healings? I had like channeled energy here and there before, like I had sent things with my hands. Was I full on doing energy healings? No, I had done one. I had gotten attuned in Reiki, actually. A friend did this, and I remember in practicing Reiki once with him, I got to such like my crown chakra just opened up so much. I started having spontaneous past life regressions.
Okay.
And that was actually at 19. That was a Native American life. And I remember just over and over thinking in my head, where is my baby? Where is my baby? Actually, no, I was 21. Since I was 19, I had this overwhelming urge to have a baby, to get pregnant. Like I would see pregnant women and I'd be like, why don't I have one?
And you think it was from a past life connection?
And so this memory helped me heal that that sensation of like, oh, I need to have this right now. As soon as I had that past life remembrance of having lost my child in that life, all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait, oh no, that's okay. I did have the child. I did lose it, but it can come back just like I came back as well. And then suddenly there was just like a deep sense of peace and understanding. And like that helped, you know, heal that anxiety that I had for a couple of years.
No, this is great because I know that, and I understand the power of what you were saying before, how past lives are present in the moment in us many times when we have something that is chronic, or that, like you were saying, this urge to have a baby when you were so young, and all that that was not really coming from anywhere that you could say why at 19 you want to have a baby, but you connected with that space that is connected with you, that you lost that baby, and you in connecting whatever. We could expand a lot here, but just being able to explore that, it healed you from that urge, and in a way, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly. No, it was really great to have that firsthand experience of something that I had read over so many years too, right? I thought it was wonderful. And also at the time, I was just in this medicine community, I was surrounded by a lot of women who were in the birth community, who were midwives, who were doulas, and you know, I just found it so inspiring that I actually ended up doing a doula training before I had my first kid, before I was even pregnant with my first one, as also a rebellious act against my parents, because they're like, you have to get a degree or you'll never be able to have a career. And I was like, well, actually I could do this and it's my career, so I'm fine. So that was my introduction to birth work, you know, and lo and behold, you know, home birthing and natural birthing is actually it is an activist career. Like we really are having to advocate for natural birth, for allowing the body to do its own thing, especially in the United States. It's really complicated there, and you know, it honestly doesn't make sense what they're doing.
Now you moved to Barcelona. Do you think that here it's in Europe it's different than United States?
It is much more different in the sense that, for example, in the hospital they're encouraged to deliver naturally, to deliver vaginally, right, through the birth canal. Where in the United States, and especially in Miami, you have a very high cesarean rate, and that's like
Yeah, yeah,
People don't realize how major of a surgery that is. It's going
yeah,
through several layers of not just skin, but muscle and organ, everything, right? And
yeah,
so
absolutely.
in
Yeah.
Miami, it's treated like, like you go get your teeth cleaned. Oh, I'm just going to take my baby out, but they
No,
don't realize.
doing healings. I remember doing healings for this.
Mhm.
Not, I remember not long ago with a client that I worked with a cesarean wound that it was not even hers. She was born from that. It was her mother.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And it is so traumatizing
yeah,
for the child. Like
yeah.
it's coming into the world traumatizing the child already. Like it really is a very atrocious act, and we have normalized it too much in the United States. In Europe, it is a different story. And I also still see that there could be improvement in supporting the family, especially in the very beginning stages, what we call the fourth trimester. It's the first 6 weeks afterwards. But even still, I think that, we could do more to support fresh families, new families, families with multiple children too. It's really incredible how little we focus on the support of the family, especially in the early stages of life.
Well, this is very beautiful, Alba. I know that you like to work in that field and in the field of birth or coming to this world, which is always incredible. And I'm also a father of two, so I had my experience there as well. But I love that you are presenting yourself here so people gets to know you. I love that we're going to present all in Universal Healing, all the different healers that we're working together. People from now we're from Turkey to Hawaii, kind of going to the west from Turkey. So we have a variation of cultures, but the common thing that we all have is that we had an I don't like awakening, but a call. I'm gonna say a call, or more than one call in our life to embrace the truth that we are carrying, from our hearts, from our essence, to become healers, to do this work. And I love that we are doing it all together. And we are almost done with this introduction of you, Alba. Would you like to say something more that you feel that is important?
I mean, honestly, just what keeps coming up is just, the love and the dedication and the admiration that I have for family relationships, but, also soul families. Like we come and we incarnate for specific reasons in specific groups at a specific time. And it is all, what's beautiful is that it's all written in the stars. It's written in our energy field. It is written. Yes, we do have free will. And, it's that beautiful duality of the universe that continues to fascinate me, right? We have something written, but we have also free choice. And then we see how everything flows, right? We really are a universe that is experiencing itself. And, the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, you know what? I want to feed back some great joy and love and just, again, admiration for this wild creation that we're in.
Beautiful, and I totally agree with you. And what all these written in the stars and everything, I see it as the structure that is holding us to experience our free will here. Like in our energy field, that we have the levels that are structured and the other levels that are more fluid, and so the same. And I'm very happy and honored to have you with us in Universal Healing, and let's keep doing it.
Oh, we're going to keep doing it. And it's going to be amazing. Thank you, Manel, for this opportunity. It's a beautiful vision, and blessings for the growth and the abundance of all of this beautiful, loving healing.
Okay, thank you all. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.